The message from Washington, a wake-up call for Germany. In Washington, a scene unfolds that captures the attention of the international press. Before the eyes of the world, a moment occurs that many describe as a diplomatic humiliation for Germany. With cameras from across the globe focused on the political heart of the United States, the German finance minister is publicly rebuked by a leading American politician. What was intended as a symbol of close partnership ends in a cold and uncomfortable atmosphere and reveals how deep the tensions between Berlin and Washington have grown. The visit began with high expectations. Confident and accompanied by a PR campaign, the minister arrived in Washington. German media praised the trip as a historic step, a sign that Germany was once again playing an important role on the world stage. In front of the White House, he smiled for the cameras, speaking of friendship, cooperation, and shared values. Everything appeared perfectly staged, yet behind the scenes, the reality was starkly different. In Washington, few seemed to care. Neither the White House nor key members of the U.S. administration made time for official talks. The meeting that was supposed to be the highlight of the visit simply never happened. The reasons run deeper. In previous years, senior German politicians had repeatedly criticized the former U.S. administration, mocking, distancing, and moralizing in public. But in American politics, such things are not easily forgotten. Those who once lectured with raised fingers are now being kept at arm's length. For Washington, this is not a matter of revenge, but of principle. Trust is earned through conduct, not words. And so, the German minister suddenly found himself alone on the world's most powerful stage. Determined not to return empty-handed, he hastily organized his own press conference in front of the White House. He spoke of transatlantic friendship, shared values, and mutual respect. Yet the response was muted. Major U.S. networks paid little attention, and some commentators reacted with irony. In the United States, people wondered how a country facing economic stagnation could presume to lecture others about values. These remarks quickly spread across social media, while German outlets reported only cautiously. Even some journalists on site privately described the visit as a PR disaster. Then came the moment that changed everything. The next day, a prominent U.S. politician took questions from the international press at the Capitol. When asked about relations with Germany, he replied in a cool tone that Europe, and especially Germany, had lost touch with reality. The statement hit like a thunderclap. Never before had an American official spoken so bluntly about German politics. The words spread rapidly on CNN, Fox News, and social media around the world, while many Americans praised the comment as refreshingly honest. In Germany, it was met with uneasy silence. The German finance minister responded defiantly. Speaking before a group of investors, he tried to restore the country's image. He portrayed Germany as the opposite of populist politics, emphasizing sustainability, social justice, and equality. Yet his words fell flat. While the United States was gaining momentum through tax cuts and industrial investment, Germany was struggling under layers of bureaucracy, an energy crisis, and high taxes. The message from Washington was clear. Success is not measured by ideals, but by results. The reactions followed quickly. American commentators openly spoke of a growing estrangement between the two former partners. While the U.S. acts pragmatically and focuses on economic strength, Germany gets lost in ideological debates and moral sermons. The American politician's words struck a nerve, articulating what many in the West have quietly thought. Europe, once a model of stability and reason, has lost its sense of reality. People want solutions, not lectures. And in that gap, Germany's credibility continues to erode. That the German media barely covered the incident no longer surprises anyone. Public broadcasters and major newspapers mentioned it only in passing. Too sensitive, too uncomfortable, too explosive. But on social media, the debate caught fire. Many citizens asked why Germany's reputation abroad has fallen so low. Some defended the government's course. Others saw it as a symptom of a deeper crisis, a widening gap between political elites and the people. The Washington scene was more than just a diplomatic mishap. It was a reflection of a growing distance between Germany and the United States. Once defined by mutual trust, the alliance now suffers from misunderstandings, conflicting priorities, and entirely different political mindsets. While America prioritizes independence, economic growth, and national strength, Germany emphasizes moral responsibility, climate goals, and global solidarity. Two Western democracies, but with fewer and fewer common values in practice. For many observers, what happened in Washington is symbolic. It represents a nation that wants to appear morally superior abroad, while losing energy, structure, and momentum at home. While the U.S. creates jobs and strengthens its industries, Germany is losing businesses, investment, and increasingly the trust of its own citizens. Where Americans say, "We act," Berlin says, "We discuss." That difference in mindset is becoming impossible to ignore. Yet perhaps this humiliation carries an opportunity. Painful as it was, the event reveals how Germany is now perceived, not as an enemy, but no longer as an equal partner either. In Washington, what counts is performance, resolve, and strategic thinking. Moral speeches, so popular in Europe, impress no one there. Respect must be earned, not demanded. Even within Europe, unease is growing. While countries like Hungary, Italy, and the Netherlands assert their national interests with confidence, Berlin often appears hesitant, divided, and self-absorbed. Behind closed doors, diplomats reportedly mock Germany's moral arrogance. The former leader of Europe now seems weary, directionless, trapped between ideology and reality. The real issue runs deeper than one failed visit. It's about credibility. A country that sets moral standards for others must itself be strong, stable, and successful. Yet that is precisely what Germany is losing, weighed down by high energy prices, weak economic performance, and growing political division. The nation that once prided itself on competence now risks being seen as complacent and uncertain. In that sense, the blunt American message serves as a wake-up call, not born from arrogance, but from realism. Perhaps it was time for someone to say openly what many already believe. Germany must return to realistic action instead of moral posturing. On the world stage, it's not rhetoric that matters, but results. The events in Washington are more than a headline. They mark a turning point, the symbolic end of an era of complacency in German politics. A reminder that respect and influence are not granted by speeches, but by tangible leadership. In the days following the incident, German officials tried to downplay the situation, calling it a misunderstanding or a misinterpretation by the media. But the impression remained. Germany had been publicly corrected, not in hostility, but in honesty. And perhaps that honesty is exactly what's needed, both in foreign policy and at home. A strong Germany does not need grandstanding. It needs courage, self-reflection, and the willingness to take real responsibility. In the end, one truth remains. Respect in international politics is not a gift. It is earned. Those who believe moral superiority alone commands influence are mistaken. The world is changing fast. Nations that act set the tone. Nations that only talk are fading into the background. The episode in Washington may have been uncomfortable for Germany, but it could also mark the beginning of a new realism, a moment that reminds Berlin to listen, to act, and to let go of the self-image that no longer matches reality. Because those who wish to be taken seriously on the world stage must offer more than rhetoric. They must show strength, take responsibility, and have the courage to face uncomfortable truths. That was the message Washington sent to Berlin. A message that stings, but one that Germany may urgently need to hear.